him a nice round of applause.
Okei, anstutaniko manstukusi. And I've just found a papu be for the tribe. I was using minkskim sokasim and iron shirt. But the longer I work with the elders, now Wayne and Diane, I thank them. They came to me and told me that, well, in our culture, what's the Indian name say? And that name wasn't kind of the cultural approach. So they told me that, now I'm a mom. No, yes, my grandma, white calf. Ubo, you see pictures there. Katano see the man you see there. Unne, manstuku see. Annam gakukut. So that I was officially at a ceremonial, and I was given that name. I say that because that's just how things start to work for me. I started to and that people. I mean, let me go back a bit. Our last session, I talked about Moses Lake, and I found a map in the 50s, and I mentioned back then that it speaks to us, all those, the elders and the peaks and that. And my mother worked at when she finished boarding school, she worked at the boarding school as a cook, and then the nuns brought her to the hospital in Cardston, and when I was born, I guess you could say my caregivers, my babysitters were the old people there that not chia, my grandma, and the word I want to keep and I see it, but end of the day, I'm back with Nuyis, my mom, Bessie, Margaret. We just had this little house in Moses Lake, and their homestead was back in standoff, back when Tom, my grandfather Tom, Iron Shirt, where they originally stayed. And I heard it today also. A lot of my grandma, after she left boarding school, she was arranged marriage to Tom, and had the three, and a boy, one died. And shortly after that, he caught TB and was brought to Kamsa Hospital. And that's where she stayed. And my family, my aunties all got brought to boarding school. And my Uncle Joe and Sister Ethel, from first marriage from Tom, they're the ones they go get her and they bring her down to North End Ranch where Joe, it's stuck with me. And that's where they were. Joe came back from the States and took over my grandma's ranch, farming, and he had cattle, horses, but she was widowed and no men, and she basically took over. So those are the things I discovered, I know. I also want to go back and say, Nuktaya people, because Asukupop, and a lot of these young that are here, I think I reflect on that, hey? In a way to say that I work with Family Community Support Services. I work with assisted living. I work with the homeless people. And I work with addictions because I'm an alcoholic and I've been addicted for a long time. I am one of them. And where I found myself was really through that process. And I'm going to talk about my purpose. My purpose is really just to share. And I was kind of intimidated earlier about the way, we all understand it. But at the end of the day, what I'm going to do is show you who I am. This little light of mine, I'm just going to let it shine. That's all it is in my ways, okay? I don't mind me too much. I learned to sing. I almost sang, but I don't want to be humorous or be a musician, but I want to start out by saying my brother Mal, Amok. When this identity first came about was when I was lost through addiction. I always go back to grandma because of boarding school, and you'll see a lot of pictures. And there's more, but this is just some of it that I discovered. She went to boarding school. We have pictures of that. And when she got out, cancel. And then from there, my mom, when she got out, she just sigum the babu de ki. Matunuai Aitsi'poyiiksi mix, Nikshook wax and that. But I do know my grandma, when she would visit Aunt Bessie, I would follow her around because it's too much the both boarding school. I got injured there very early while I was there, and then they pulled me out of there, and that's why they didn't want me to go back there because of what happened at the residential school. So that's how I got to start to learn or to know who I am. I backtracked everything, and when I went for treatment well, I was a teen. I was a very young person that was already an alcoholic in that, but I found myself there because people like Bernard Tallman and others there told me who I was rather than my family. And I think that was just the start. And from there it went on and progressed to where Little Bear, just take it each Little Bear, the old man Pat, is that his name, Pat Little Bear? Just Unna, not Gary. Yeah, that family. They told me who I was. I didn't know. And I think that just got me going. And after I went to school, came back and started working, I go to a restaurant and I find out everybody knew who I was, And I think that's where it started from. And I say that I go to the shelter and a lot of them don't know who they are, where they come from. And I think that's where it triggered me to start telling them who their parents are, grandparents and everything. And I do get a lot of calls about who am I, who gets, and everything. There's 5 books here that I brought along, but you'll see it up there. To me, that was the start. And I think the Aitsi'poyiiksi, I think, was it Evelyn Goodstriker or Goodstriker at superintendent there that kind of started these books. Yeah, Joyce. And to me, you don't start it off with one, but I went through the whole book. I know whatever is in there, I know you're a family tree. I sat in my house trailer and I just went through it all. And out of that, I started to pull what I thought was relevant, what was family to me, and that's where this all started. I'm only explaining to you my process in seeking my identity. All of you have your process, how you went about. And we always ask you to our elders and that. And that's where it started from me. Jim White Bull and that family, they always knew that Tom was dual citizen and that his first wife, Mortimer Anumok, that was his boy. His second wife was from Skapipikani. And that's where Tom, and not Tom, Strong Bull. And Strong Bull comes from many spotted horses. So those are the things I'm tracking, and if not further. And I think through testimonials, through books, I want to do more. But I said at our meeting committee that I call it validation. We talk about storytelling and everything. And it's best you tell your family first. I did speak, and I did with Johnny Day Ryder begin. My cousins, Noreen, Rose, we started our first round of validating information that we've collected so far. I also found where, not what you thought, it took me about 8 years, but I finally found him. And when I found him, that was it. Johnny said, Genya, I got too much, because too many people told me where, and I go out there, and I just kept looking, and finally, Wayne being one of them, Harley Frank, there's many that told me where to be, but I did find him. I put a cross, and we're going to put a rock there. My brother, his hair, and he's going to help me do all that. So, but without going on, Melvin, is your mic on? Okay. I'll say this, all the information I collect and start, I pass it on to Melvin, because Melvin's really good at and has the time to go more into detail and find more data research. We've been everywhere to try and collect as much information with Miki Misugashim and Chikinaki and that family, White Calf, and so on. So I asked him to pull a little bit of a presentation. I said, we got an hour. Well, we got 94 slides, but I don't plan to go through them all. We'll go through some. At the end of the day, we may all be related. No disrespect to one album, just one book. Many Spotted Horses had 8 wives. And somebody told me, hey, some of them go out, the clanship, and they come back and their husband passed away. So their wives would move in with many Spotted Horses, the families. It's not like so I learned that very quickly. Okay, now I know, now I understand. So without going further, I think even right off the back, I'll tell you this picture, I found this after my grandma passed away in her train case. All of you elders back then, your mom, your grandmas, they had train cases. These are just one of many that I found. And I looked at it and I said, isn't that something, to see that. And there are more pictures there. So again, I can go on and on. I just begun. I'll pass it on to Melvin that how he pulled this together for me and us. Okay. Oh yeah, just so you know, I was blessed. Everybody gets this. I always think about the spirit world. I wake up with it and I go to sleep with it because I have so many up there. And the most one that really affects me is my granddaughter. He was the one that told me, the spirit world, you're blessed. Don't worry, just be happy. Do your presentation. Don't feel intimidated, threatened. This is just coming from you. Everybody has their approach of dealing with family, how they went about and so on. So, I feel good about just what I'm going to share with you is really just sharing. There may be some questions, they may need a validation, but at the end of the day, at least I've got a draft, something to start with. And family, you're more than welcome. Let's have a family meeting. And any of you that end up being my cousins, you're more than welcome. We'll go through a process with that. Hanya, now.
Well, Aitsi'poyiiksi is 6 bits. I didn't know, Aitsi'poyiiksi. Always a lot of good sense of humor, get the crowd going. But, like to hear that. Eases the crowd and you feel at home. Just to start off with, it's a Daniko Mel iron shirt. And when I was growing up, not Inskakko, not Jesus Inskakko, but Catherine, Pantherbone. One time, Tsissimata, the Pipia Glenwood, ich pomma Aitsi'poyiiksi. Dropped them off there. Just one, Svikianako, Gititstapinskais. Aitsi'poyiiksi. Getsinskot. I saw you grow up as a child. But today it's just dies. But that's not a copy, boys. It's Machista Pinska. Not Soktago. Well, I'm full blood. I'm known, I'm from the Blood Reserve, and I'm from the community of Kohkimat. I know, I get to be a what fancy about Kohkimat. But it's the Indian Affairs. I'm known as 2758. The smudge box. But still, I went to school, college, and I got a diploma in plant and soil science. I got another diploma in irrigation technology. So I kind of learned quite a bit with, I guess, our plants, the starting of life, creation of life, all the glaciers that happened. One day, John J. Healy, my stepdad, used to walk there about, I was about 18. Stwanik, you're showing me some of his shells from his sponge box. Stwanik, could you go out to the mines and suck him, sir? I said, sure, I'll find them. Eh? But learning from I guess the beginning of time, just to these sponge box. Like from the dinosaur era to the Jurassic era to Cretaceous area. All these shells, they come from that time era. And all the soil that comes from there, they call it the bear paw soil. So when we use the sponge box, like it kind of represents time, the time of creation, the beginning of time again. Like the shells, the bear paw material that's used there, and then we go up to the subsoil. Again, the shell was used, and then we use all our sacred things like mint and sage, cedar. And then tobacco is always like the last thing we use. So everything kind of goes up representing time until we use tobacco. Tobacco is always our messenger when we smoke it, when we say our prayers, for everybody. The smoke carries it up to the heavens to be heard. So that's what to be the sponge box. Okay, Gab, Aitsi'poyiiksi been on Ancestry. I guess talking about our Gab, where you come from, your family tree, like anybody. Like we got a lot of young people here. A lot of them are all growing up, and they're probably all wondering, like, who's my grandmother? Who's my grandfather? Great grandfather? Like, we could go all the way up to maybe three greats. Like, maybe let's go into the second slide, third slide. Like, for everyone, like Bruce that, everybody has to have a purpose in life. Purpose in life, like having the five essential things in life: home, food, water, and see, I think home is probably the most important part of life. Then knowing your identity, where you came from. Like, a lot of us, we want to start somewhere to, get an idea, where did you come from? Who's your mom? So everybody in here, how many of you have studied your family tree? Like quite a few. You know who all your ancestry are, where you came from. Eh? Have you ever wondered? Can you that searching your family tree history? What story starts with your family tree? Let me go over here on that far side. I can't see our slides. Testing, one, two. Okay, but come some more. Yeah. Okay, where does your family tree start? A lot of questions on your blood ancestry. Then you could start yourself from, I guess, starting a twig, your family twig. Watching what your vast family tree is. Look for names, dates, places, and relationships. Beginning at home again, relatives as sources, birth, marriages, church, death records, and libraries, societies, and archives. Even like the Leftward Herald, you could go on archives on Leftward Herald, and you could get a lot of information from there. Okay, next slide. Where would you start to? Gaganista, books mo kita sa kakuni pa family tree. Gab, my father, Ninna, Gab, my mother, Gab, Ninsta, Gab, the scan. Gab, so Gab, kada it's the be in Scatopia, but then so Gab, kada one is war. Can I start? Who's my family tree? So, let's get next slide. God's Bruce, man, I was just showing you. This is a real good start in looking for your grandparents, your parents. These books are very valuable. Like a lot of our elders, past elders, they showed us or told stories of our past, where they came from, Indian names. Like I would say, these books are very valuable. And I saw Pat Twig back here. He'll be the one to ask for these books, and I'm sure he's got quite a few of them. Okay, next slide. Here's some more of the other books that you could read if you got time. Instead of playing on games and Facebook, I think you'll be, they're good to read. That's where you could probably get a lot of history. Okay, next slide. There's some more books that you could look at, read. Next slide. Here are some of the more valuable books like Red Crow. See, one time I was I think it was at the shop besides buildings. Okay, not big one. You had a whole bunch of native books. You had a boss sat there, and most of them are all the ones you see here. Yeah, I didn't know that these books are quite valuable. Like, you could get quite a bit money from them. Next slide. How about just Abel Einshirt? Aitsi'poyiiksi Next slide. Yeah, my mother again. I'm on maternal side. Grandmother is Louise. Great grandmother Chichikinaki, and her husband was Don't Tie Your Shoes. Katano. Katano, Don't Tie Your Shoes. That was his name when he got back in 1877. That was translated all the names. But his real name was Unlaced Moccasin, Katanos. And Tom Iron shirt there. My grandfather Tom his dad was Strongbow. Strongbow Manatakuni. We just found out that he's one of our relatives, and we believe that he's one of our siblings from many spotted horse. And his brother was Mortimer, Eagle Tail Feathers. Yeah, our Bruce's dad is late Joseph Rabbit. My father is all Red Crow. Yeah, my older brothers, Evans and Dennis, their dad was Donald Blackfoot. Okay, next slide. Don't Tie Your Shoes, Annie. Their kids are Louise, Don't Tie Your Shoes, Barney. Then there's Louise and Tom. That's my mom, Margaret, Bessie, William, Jerry. That John Dayrider, and then there was like Tom, Henry. Yes, Henry had all his kids, Melvin, Joe, Laverne, Henry, Flora, Aloysius, Florence, and Clara and Henry Big Throat. They had quite a few kids too, Albertine, Pauline, Teresa, Evelyn, Harry, Veronica. And there's George, and then there's Albert and Irene. Albert, Rita, Leroy, Laura. I got to be, just, giving you some of an idea, who, who are your relatives? You could find them all. Always have a book to write down everything that you've researched, write them down, save them. Because any info you get, it's not always 100%. Somebody else might have a different story, but, always make reference of it. So and so told me. So Rita, Bill Rabbit, there's Larry, Dorothy, Albert, Christina, Marilyn, Katie. Then there's Agnes, then Bob. Okay, next slide. Oh, great grandfather, Thanos. During the 1920s, his body was laid to rest along the St. Mary's River. Okay, maybe I'll let Bruce get up and
Back in August 19th, that was the day that Aitsi'poyiiksi, Nakatanosi, where he was buried. Like I said, it took many trips, efforts. I even went out there with Wayne, Diane, Harley, and Butch, and so many others that were aware. They always said the same site, but at one time, finally, Johnny said, well, where it's the speed, the slope there, that's where usually it does. Well, finally, I went through about 3, 4, and next thing I hit it, and I knew because there was a wood, the dirt in the wood, and I said, again, I found it. And I told Johnny that, well, I guess it's meant to be. So we did a ceremonial after that, and that's where that went about. Just wanted to add to that. Go ahead. Go next
Maybe
slide.
go into the next slide. Yeah, I guess just Bruce just kind of
Yeah.
repeating what we went through. But really you have to thank, guess Butch Plum for showing me the location, but not the exact site. And then there's Wayne Plum and his wife. He also showed us same area, but again, not exact same site. But it was until we saw next slide. Harley Frank. One day when we were working with community gardens, making up his raised bed, planting in his vegetables, and I'm down here don't tie your shoes. I did somewhere, but we don't know where it's just see Harley. Iksoksinen made where it's how did did that's auch doch kitopis pinana just along the St. Mary's River. So that's what the but it's Harley was always wondering who was this person. Like he was really happy to find out who who the siblings were, who the grandkids were. All right, next slide. Okay, next slide there. Here's Bruce, if you want to elaborate on this one.
Just a picture of when we discovered I call it ancient burial site of our forefather Gatano. See, that's where a picture of that. Go to the next slide. Johnny, my brother Johnny, late Johnny, myself and Harley were just kind of scoping it out at that time, where basically where to go through. Go ahead. Next slide. My Aunt Bessie was there with us. We had other people we wanted to come along with us because I had been going there and I wanted family to show up, but just grateful Johnny was there and showed up with us there. Go ahead, keep going. And that's where we discovered the site. We had brought a cross. I brought a picture of him, and that's where it's still cheaping on the cross. We plan to go back and put a big rock there, because where that site is right along the river where Calvin Fox in that area lives, and during that time he was a next door neighbor to Tom Three Persons. Prior to Tom Three Persons, it was against Blackfoot. It's not Rita, their great grandfather. That was where their original homesteads were. So I took a picture of that. I think Rita has one, and of course she validated and knew about it. And a lot of other elders did tell me about a little bit of history of that area. Go ahead, next slide. Okay, just to give you another visual of my cousin Johnny blessing the amo, the grave site. I think shortly after this, I didn't realize that my cousin was sick and not well, and I was grateful, thankful that.
It's maybe in the future, I guess with like the help of chief and council and I guess our people of the bloodstock, we'd like to designate this area as like a burial site. And maybe, consider putting a monument there. Okay, next slide. Hello, Louise, no yes. Okay, next slide.
Melvin, this one, that's Joe Einshirt that you see there. Every time they have a break from the boarding school, he would pick up my mother on the one on the left. In the middle is Bessie, and on the right is Margaret. They would pick. He would pick them up and bring them to where right now Curtis Einshirt lives, and then from there they go down to the ranch and check out the ranch. And they did a lot of the fencing and all that good stuff back then during the summer breaks. Next slide. Okay, again, this is more of just a breakdown of the of our now Tom Einshirt, who was first married to a Healy. We found that out, and that's where Joe Einshirt was there, and Ethel, and the family Julia, and that family. So he was Ethel was married to Joe Bear. And that family, Ikukichi, the one winter where they got caught up in that. And then we went further into Uncle Joe Einshirt, where he stayed with Margaret Eagle Chow Einshirt, and they had adopted Shelley and Curtis at that time. And then, of course, Ethel, we wrote down their family tree there and on. So, and on the other side is more or less just there, which is the B-mix about Joe Bear and all that. We thought, well, let's show those in there and on with the tree, the ancestry tree. Go ahead, next slide. And that's Joe Bear. That's what going to. Hello there, brother. Samahanya. But I always missed that man there. He was such a he was always good to us. Go ahead. Realizing time. Gamo Tom, that was our grandpa there. One of the, I'm again very fortunate to find a picture of that and his son there. So that's what we've got there. Joe Einshirt. I think there's a point there where we know one of them died with TB at 17 years old. Next one. Okay, there's another picture with the shops there. Well, I don't know what they call shops. Well, that's what I know. Ganumok from was Mortimer, and there's Tom Einshirt in the middle, or on the outskirts of it. And I can't remember the one that's standing in the middle. Initially, I thought it was Busina, but somebody corrected me, and I just forgot to write it down. Hanya, next. And that's again our family's hair. Barney, along with Rosie, we have a picture of in the details of that, and that's the things that we met over, and we wanted to just kind of validate them and qualify them as Nietzsche. They are true. Next. So it then goes on to many spotted horses. Passed away in 1884. He was a leader of the Many Fat Horses band of lone fighters. He owned 300 pinto horses, 1850 to 1870. He signed the Leinster Treaty in 1855 and the Treaty of Seven in 1877. And he has 10 wives. But I already explained to you what that means.
Okay.
Okay. Killed 10 people, killed 2 on a horse. No, that's enough. That's enough. A horse with a club. He was permitted to own 30 buffalo hide teepees. This teepee was hauled by 2 committed horses. A medicine wheel was made in his recognition. We believe one of his 31 children was Strong Bull, and his siblings are Tom Einshirt, passed away in 1947. He was only about 84 years old. And Mortimer, I forget what year he passed away. Go ahead, next slide. Trying to go through it because of our time. And again, I found this picture of boarding school where, go back, the one with the boarding school. And that's where, and I'm seeing more of that because I see that that's my grandma in the kind of I don't know, the scarf or that thing you see around. On the far right, Aitsi'poyiiksi. I have, and I've been sharing that picture with the other family members that were in there. Mrs. Blood, Russell, and others. But again, that words are too small. Maybe later you might want to ask more about it, or maybe you already know who they are. But those are some of the people my grandma used to always visit, and I used to tag along. And now I understand why. Looks like you could, they visit. Okay, go ahead, next. So what? Again, just a quick picture of, and that's Melvin, his family, Jalen, Drexter, Brittany, Rayleigh, and Tyler, and Terry Lynn family. So we're just kind of going down up to current. Keep going. And that's Chikinaki. We found out watching the Circle of the Sun, my grandma, my mom used to recognize her laugh, and then sure enough, we were able to cut and paste a picture of Chikinaki while she was part of the ceremonials there. Hun, anything else? Keep going. Go ahead. And this again, Annie Divine, my grandma in the middle, and Mrs. Wadsworth. Those were always her friends that Ukisawachi. And again, I found a picture of this, and I thought it'd be good to her most recent picture before her passing. That's one of the pictures I found. Katie Wadsworth and Annie Divine. Go ahead. And again, just going back to the original picture that left to right, Annie's sister, Annie's sister-daughter, don't tie his shoes, Owl talking, Louise, don't tie his shoes, and Annie, don't tie his shoes. I just want to say this, it's really, go back to the other picture. This was when, go to the next one, sir. Sir. This is when we went down to Johnny's and we met Rosie, Noreen, and we wanted more people to come up and show. But I mean, like I said, it's a start for us. It's somewhere. We got to start somewhere, and I wanted more family members to take part, and because this is just some of our many, the wolf clans, there's quite a bit of those, and our family tree there. So I just wanted to show a picture of that. Okay, next. Okay, again, the same gathering. We had laid out all our findings, our information, pictures we've picked up, and we're just sharing those pictures and the information that we discovered and found with our ancestries. Okay. I was going to say it's difficult to research and find that before treaty, they were all Indian names, Aitsi'poyiiksi, and then when they signed the treaty, their brothers, sisters, and so on. And then when they go to boarding school, my his brother Barney, I think Day Rider brought him to boarding school, and when he got brought there, Tukuchi way his name, but they were full blood brother sisters, so that's how that came about. So I just wanted to mention that. And I'm a picture of White Calf, also known as father of many children, and Running Crane, Blood Indian war chief. I think this was back before when they had the clanship chiefs. This is one of them. And Earl O'Person did tell me that to visit him, and I wish I did, about because again, she was one of those people that knew more about me, and along with Tom Einshirt. I found out that he had land there and that it's in trust in Spokane, in some estate there. But again, I phoned Browning and they said that I need to go get membership first before they could allow me access to that information in Spokane. So because of COVID, I haven't gone there. So I just left it at that. And we still yet to pursue it a bit further. Hanya, anything else? Any more pictures? What time we got there? Go ahead, next. Okay, Taida. Suki, Hanya. Are you, no, or heavy face wife of Suki. Wife of White,
Heavy
White,
face.
okay, wife of White Calf. Blood reserve was Travis, no, Travis. Fort McLeod, Alberta, date 1916. Photographer, we find out that was at the museums. Yeah, so that's a picture that we found also. So go ahead. You want to add anything, Melvin? You okay? And Blood Woman with dog Travis, or Southern Alberta date, 1924, left to right double victory. Woman, J. Colton mother, Mrs. White Bull, heavy face, and Mrs. White Calf takes a man on horse's black looking image. Okay. Again, we were told and given these pictures. Heavy face, wife of White Bull with dog. This was back in 1924. Again, a photograph of that. Okay, any more? Keep going. Well, I have more. These are just some, and again, like an hour is an hour. That's 60 minutes. Okay, so again, two blood women with dog, and again, white bull calf, and white calf. Go ahead. We're getting there. Blood war chief, 1883, probably is what now Southern Alberta. He had two wives and they had several children. I'm like a camel, mata Aitsi'poyiiksi. White Cat was born into the Buffalo Followers Band of Blood Indian. He gained a favorable war record. And by the time the Northwest Mounted Police came west, in 1874, he was recognized as a war chief and had formed his own band, the Marrows. In 1877, he's one of the signatories of Treaty 7 with the following 107 persons before the Bloods settled on their reserve in 1880. Hanya, any more? Okay, that's White Calf with followers. Go ahead, next. I think we're getting to where, don't tie your shoes. That Ama, that's one of my horses. I often wondered why I was so drawn to horses. And not Pete told me one time down, said, not Pete, Pete, I'm just going to change my name. Oh, Hanya, why? I said, well, no, I shouldn't have said that. But anyways, I said, oh, no, you keep that name, you know, so what? But anyways, without that said, I was blessed again. I thank God that, horses have always been with me. I always go back to my uncle, George, even Busi, Amutski, and all of them. They may not hear, they may not talk, but I always read their nonverbals, and I always knew what they want needed because I chopped a lot of wood, water, all for a caramel. But at the end of the day, getting into horses, my horses don't need to talk or anything. I know what they want and need. So that's my gift that I have for horses. I've been very blessed with horses. It's not my idea to race them, but it turned out that way. And Horse of the Year, I've won it twice in Alberta. And I have Indian relay horses. I started it in 19, and today it's blossomed all over to Calgary, Edmonton, North, South, Saskatchewan. So I'm always grateful for Leroy, heavy runner, and Leroy, what's his last name again? Skunk Cap, for crossing it over to us, and bless that Leroy was there to help. Aitsi'poyiiksi. So always good, always having fun with horses. And then I go back and say, well, maybe because that's just in one of my ancestry. So anything else you want? Any more pictures? Strongbow. So it is.
Heavy shields.
Okay. So, we have na Julia Otan lives in Cardston. And of course, Nietzsche, the Mormons, they really get it down into ancestries and so on. And she's been able to find a lot of pictures, a lot of ancestries and so on. So she shared with us some pictures that she had found. Okay, keep going. Portrait of heavy shields, many spotted horses. Chief at Lame Deer Bow with the United States. Heavy shields also signed the Canadian Treaty in 1877, painting by an Apikon. But anyways, that's one of his many the paintings that we discovered and found. So go ahead, next. This is where it all started from. You know, these books here you see, I looked at them. I started off with the family tree. And then when I went to Chikinaki and I found out she had sisters that, I mean, again, they just started to go down the list on the right. And also on the left, I started to identify like my Barney and the other family, all the families and all that stuff. So, and I thank Sally Good Striker for really giving me a lot of information on my family, because I found out that Machichilkwamya, Nishina, Hugh Calf Rope, and many others there. So what I did was I passed this on to Melvin. I said, Melvin, this is just the start. Let's get going. But what I did was I cut and paste all that information from these books. So thank God I have these books, and that's where Nuktu Matapohpi. In terms of my purpose, my outcome that you've seen and process, this is what we did in terms of our process to go to where we are as of to date, and it will continue to grow. Anything else? Next. Next slide. Okay, and again, those are just a little bit more breakdown of our, which is the B-mix, families, and so on that one. Just wait. What time is it now? We should, Melvin, he did a little bit research on the paternal side of the family. His great-grandfather, his name is here. So Melvin, maybe I'll just pass it on to you.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
All right,
that's in Red Crow. I know all of you know about Red Crow, but from what we gathered and what we know in terms of that is what we're just going to present. Like I said, maybe later after the presentation, we could always go back and turn around and say, you know, these are some of the areas that we could change, update, and make it more accurate. Because I'm hoping by the end of this, I can make a book out of this and pass it on, you know. So that's where I'll just end off on that side. So Melvin, go ahead.
Just winding down here. This is Chief Red Crow. His first name was captured the gun inside. Second name was a name that he hated was Manistapo. Like don't go away. Then his third name, which he carries out today, it's Mikaisto. And the word Mikaisto means Chief Red Crow. It's been the name's been used quite a bit, and I'm very happy that our new college is named after him. Okay, next slide. There's quite a few slides, so we'll probably go through them real quick. Chief Red Crow, his father was Black Bear. His uncle was seen from afar. There's a kind of a storybook on Natawa East. She married Alexander Culberson. There's a town named after Culberson and Natawa East. Like she's from our reserve, and she had 10 children, and so these 10 kids are all scattered like through the United States, especially in Montana. Yeah, I guess Fish Eaters was one of the largest of the blood tribe. It was quite a big clanship. Next slide. So just brief here. Willie Red Crow, his mother was Water Bird, born in 1877, and the last name, I can't name it too good. Anyways, that's for Francis Red Crow, my grandfather. That's his parents. And then on the bottom is Annie, and the bottom is Saucy. And their kid was Annie Red Crow, and the kids are Agnes, Irene, Aline, Madeline, Alfred or Alred, Mary, Alexander, Jack, Cyril, and Benedict, or Ben. The next slide. Red Crow had adopted sons for the past chiefs, Crop-eared Wolf, Black-faced Chief, Frank Red Crow. Daughters are a shaggy-haired woman, crow woman, married many mules, ground-digging woman, born in 1868, married John McDougall and then Jack Wagner before moving into the States. Jane died in 1886. Mother was a pretty woman. She separated from Red Crow and returned back to her people in Montana. Next slide. I guess, so we'll just go maybe just some more storytelling there. And okay, next slide. Just already talk on this one. Next slide. This is a seen from afar. So we'll just go through these slides quick now. Okay, next slide. Here's Natawa East. She was buried at the old stand-up on the island on the north east side of the reserve. Her burial site is still there, and I think the tombstone's kind of fallen over. One day we went there to try visit the whole area. So we got chased away by the landowner. Kids had rifles. They made sure that we got off that land. I think in the future we should try look into getting this island back. And we have a lot of history there, a lot of graves that are there. The landowner is pretty well, just wrecking the whole area there. Okay, next slide. Just a picture of, again, Natawa Easta and Alexander Culberson. Next slide. This is one of our chiefs, Bullback Fat. The next slide. This is Fort Benton. I think everybody should go visit this museum. There's a lot of history there. Go there. Never know. You might find some history on your relatives. Okay, next slide. Here's some of the things I saw there. Back in the 1850s, these were traded during that time and era. And of course, a keg of high wine was one of them. Okay, next slide. Here's a document of our treaty, 1877. Next slide. Again, just history of all our relatives on the Red Crow family. Next slide. Again, just some had two brothers that hardly ever came to visit. That was Sheep Old Man and Revenge Walker. And I think Revenge Walker is part of the First Charger family. Okay, next slide. Again, that's Chief Red Crow. Next slide. Grandfather, Red Crow. I guess, we could kind of stop our presentation here, time limited. Pass it on to Bruce.
I'm thinking I'm losing you. Then maybe it's them brown bags. What are in there? Kind of lost its focus. Or maybe you guys were just chatting away about your ancestry. It's already starting to develop, to start talking about family. But again, just to summarize, it's just a tool, a method that I'm just sharing with you. Everybody has their own. Everybody probably have already way ahead of me, or they know their family and everything. But I think for the sakes of, for me, where I work, working with the homeless people and others, Aitsi'poyiiksi, they're the ones to guess and those that have gone for treatment, a lot of them, they need to find themselves and they need to know who they are, and that's what I try to do, is share what I know, and it sure brightens them up to know that. And the clanships, I can't tell you how many clanships I'm from, but I am from a clanship. And so with that said, I think I'm done. This little light of mine, I said I'll let it shine. Eh? So that's all it is. Just let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Hun, okay.
Your light is shining.